I stayed at a hotel. I asked, are there any extra fees? They said no. The bill on the last night, we were charged a $40 a night amenity fee.
In a consumer society, nothing is free. And when it comes to overspending, there is nothing easier than that, considering the variety of goods and services available. Markets offer you a myriad of products that we don't necessarily need but still buy. In addition, average households have other significant expenditures like rent, utility bills, medical services, mortgages, clothes, insurance, and so on. However, hidden fees on goods and services make a significant dent in the family budget. So, average Americans end up spending thousands of dollars on so-called junk fees, which only worsens their living standards considering inflation, the banking crisis, and the upcoming recession. Moreover, after the Fed Reserve hiked the interest rate to 5%, it affected all banking services, including loans and returns on savings. Problem is that nobody cares, but consumer is overcharged until the bill is outrageous. In this video, we're talking about junk fees that might be ripping you off. Before moving to the subject, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell. Now, let's get to the bottom of the issue. So, firstly, let's identify what a junk fee is. Junk fees are extra charges that can surprise customers and aren't explained well by the company adding them. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has given examples of junk fees, like charges for fees or services by ticket sellers, fees for resorts from hotels, and extra fees on phone or cable bills. These fees make it challenging for people to find the best shopping prices and can take billions of dollars from people's budgets. Junk fees are found in many industries like banking, entertainment, and travel, but also in mortgages, student loans, and credit cards. Today, junk fees are a severe burden on the absolute majority of Americans. In fact, over 85% of Americans have encountered junk fees, and every year consumers pay around $30 billion for items they've already paid a fair price. The Federal Trade Commission identified the three most common types of junk fees: unnecessary charges for worthless, free, or fake products or services, unavoidable charges imposed on captive consumers, and surprise charges that secretly push up the purchase price. Long story short, companies may charge you for products that have no value. If you enjoy Monopoly, they'll charge for that and can surprise you with additional fees anytime they want, even without you knowing it. According to a Bankrate article, the average closing cost nationwide for buying a single-family home in 2021 were $6,905, including taxes, and $3,860 without, according to data from Closing Core. In a CNBC article on the junk fees, Vicki Morowitz, a professor at Columbia Business School, says that basically research has found that when businesses charge separate mandatory fees instead of including them in the one total price, customers tend not to realize how much they're actually paying. Even if the fees are clearly listed, people are still more likely to buy something if the fees are presented separately. This effect is even more substantial when the fees are shown as a percentage of the base price instead of a flat dollar amount, or when they're hidden in the fine print. Generally, companies use two tricks to hook customers to pay more than they should. Let's look at specific examples. First, partitioned pricing is when companies divide the price of a product into a base price and then extra fees that must be paid. For instance, hotels may require guests to pay an additional charge on top of the daily room rate for amenities such as pool access or towels, and Airbnb may add cleaning fees to the total cost of the rental. Drip pricing is a sneaky tactic companies use to advertise a product at a low price, but they don't reveal the whole cost up front. Instead, they add extra charges later on in the buying process. This happens a lot with ticketing companies like Ticketmaster. So for example, when you're trying to buy a ticket for a concert or a baseball game, you might see its seat advertised at one price. Still, as you go through the checkout process, you'll discover all kinds of extra fees tacked on. like service fees, order processing fees, convenience fees, and ticket delivery fees. So even if the ticket's being sent to you electronically, they might still charge you a fee for it. However, according to a survey conducted by Switchful, the picture may be worse than one can imagine. The report revealed that because of rising inflation, households are monitoring junk fees more closely as they have to save as much money as possible. But on the other hand, the Switchful survey says that junk fees cost the average American an estimated $596 per year, with some consumers paying upwards of more than $1,000 per year. Finally, on a national scale, Americans may be spending around $190 billion in junk fees, which is significantly more than the $30 billion the government estimated. Speaking of the government, Joe Biden in his State of the Union mentioned that he wants to impose the Junk Fee Prevention Act and called on Congress to act as soon as possible. When the president has to stress the issue, it means the situation is most likely out of control. It is because whole industries have been making billions of dollars for nothing. In his speech, Biden specifically mentioned airlines' junk fees that average Americans have to pay every time they board a plane. For example, we're making airlines show you the full ticket price up front and refund your money if your flight is canceled or delayed, Biden said. Baggage fees are bad enough. They can't just treat your child like a piece of luggage, Biden said. Americans are tired of being played for suckers. However, even with the junk fee money the firms make, they still don't offer services of decent quality. For instance, Southwest's disastrous meltdown. The airline just could not function when the customers needed it the most, during Christmas. We're still using not only IT from the 90s, but also processes from when our airline was a tenth of the size. And it's really just not scaled for an operation that we have today, said the president of the union representing Southwest pilots. Despite mediocre service or no service at all, you can find extra charges for sitting next to your kid on a plane on many airlines. One can say the same about the banking system. Last year, the U.S. Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, CFPB, put a spotlight on the charges and overdraft fees, saying banks made more than $19 billion from them in 2019. The CFPB also tries to stop banks from charging people extra money when depositing a bounced check. This doesn't happen as often because most people use digital payment services like Venmo and PayPal instead of paper checks. The fees usually range from $10 to $19 and are paid by the person who deposited the bounced check. However, despite astronomical incomes, banking system in America is one of the most vulnerable. The two largest regional banks, Silicon Valley Bank and Signature, collapsed, which is the largest financial crisis since 2008. In a recent social science research network study suggests that 186 American banks could fail if half of their depositors suddenly withdrew their funds. Regarding the solution, it should be noted that Biden's administration pledged to get rid of junk fees in October 2022. We're just getting started. There's tens of billions of dollars and other junk fees across the economy that I'm directing my administration to reduce or eliminate, Biden said. However, the Junk Fee Prevention Act was introduced recently at the beginning of April in House of Representatives Ruben Gallego and Jeff Jackson. That means that the act has a long way to go if adopted. Moreover, there's a healthy skepticism among consumers that they don't trust the companies to comply and the government to actually finish the job. For example, 80% of respondents lack trust in companies' ability to be honest and transparent with pricing practices, and 44% of respondents lack confidence in the government's ability to make a change. We might be observing a government fishing for public support as the problem pertains to millions of households. Yet recent surveys show 75% of consumers support cutting junk fees with strong support across party lines. So, this is a perfect opportunity to gain some political points, especially when the election campaign is heating up. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and share your opinion on the topic in the comment section below.